This particular part of Florida is important to Element van life for one specific reason. Just over 2 years ago, I left Massachusetts and Rhode Island and started this road trip living out of the Element full time. The first consecutive nights that I spent in the Element were right here on the central coast of Florida, near Indialantic and Melbourne Beach. I just realized the other day while I was driving over here that it had been just over 2 years since I started living out of the Element full time, and that this 2-year vaniversary would be occurring in the exact same spot that the entire journey began. So I wanted to chat a little bit about van life in the past 2 years and kind of what that's meant for me, and particularly address some of the things that I've learned for those of you who are maybe considering venturing out and exploring van life, exploring RV life, other types of alternative living or whatever it may be. For me, I definitely think that even 2 years into it now, this has been 100% worth it. It's something that I would definitely recommend. Obviously, I don't necessarily think that every single person should try living in a van. I don't know if it's right for everyone necessarily, but for me, it really has been an excellent experience and something that I do not regret, and something that I see myself doing for a long time moving forward. This whole journey kind of started for me because I was seeking out the lowest possible monthly expenses and trying to figure out a way to free up my income so that I could use it to live a life that I wanted to live. And, you know, obviously for me, getting rid of rent was the largest expense. I think it is for probably most people out there, and I've been able to do that for over 2.5 years at this point. I've been living out of the Element full-time for 2 years, obviously, hence the title of this video, but, you know, being able to convert the Element into a camper and live out of it full-time is a huge reason why I was able to get rid of rent. And I think that was like kind of my first step towards minimalism, and from then I've learned a lot about getting rid of a lot of different things and kind of trying to pare down what I own in my life so that it's the things that I actually need, and not having a bunch of other things that I don't need and just kind of want or whatever it may be. And I think that really has allowed me to have the experiences that I've had over the past 2 years, being able to have that freedom to move about, to be able to go where I want to go, not worry as much about income that's coming in. Of course, I always am worried about making money and trying to save money for the future and so on, but it has allowed me to take a little bit of focus off of that and focus more on the time that I have, you know, alive out there exploring in all different places. And the people that I've met over the past couple of years, I'm so grateful for them. A huge portion of that is through YouTube, obviously being able to reach a lot of people and then having people reach out to me and want to meet up with me. I mean, those experiences have been things that I'm never going to forget for the rest of my life, and I've met some incredible people and seen some incredible places along the way, and all of this can be attributed to these first steps of reducing my monthly expenses and eventually living in the Element full time and moving towards a life of minimalism. So let's talk about some of the challenges that I've encountered for those of you in particular who are maybe considering trying this sort of lifestyle or doing some sort of an alternative living. You know, for one, folks are definitely going to judge you. If you're making a step towards this minimalist, tiny living, van life, RV life, it's not normal. Most people in the United States in particular want to live a life of security, of consumerism, where they live in a house and they have a car and they do the, you know, the keeping up with the Joneses and that whole thing. That is the norm in this country. And I'm not saying that everyone is like that necessarily, but it is expected that you live in a house and not in some sort of an alternative dwelling, be it a car, an RV, a camper, a tiny house, whatever it may be. So you're going to be judged, and the biggest thing is you have to be okay with that. And for me, over the past 2 years, I've become increasingly more confident with it, to the point where now I really don't even think twice about what other people are thinking about me. I couldn't care less. When I go out and I meet somebody, I'll tell them right away that I live in my element. It doesn't matter who they are. And if they think that it's strange or they think that it's weird, then that's their choice. That being said, over the past 2 years, I have noticed that it seems that this idea is becoming more popular in general, especially with young people, but with everyone. I think that people maybe are not considering living in vans full-time. I don't think that everyone's just going to drop everything and start living tiny. That's definitely not going to happen anytime soon, but it is definitely also true that people are more exposed to the concepts of minimalist living and of van life and tiny living or whatever it is. So I think that exposure has allowed people to be a little bit more accepting of it. You know, they probably acknowledge that it's definitely not right for them, but that it's something that other people do and it could possibly be right for other people. So I think that that's definitely a good thing, but you have to be prepared to know in advance that people more than likely are going to be judging you, and they're going to maybe have a hard time understanding from time to time what it is that you're doing with your life, and you just have to be okay with that. And there are other challenges as well with van life. I think that these challenges will vary from person to person. I think people are going to interpret these things differently and are going to have different opinions of what the most difficult parts of van life are. For me, I guess the biggest things are like getting sick in the van. That's really not enjoyable. If you're sick to your stomach, you have a headache or something like that. It's small in here. It's really not a fun position to be in. Fortunately for me, it hasn't happened too much, but it really is not enjoyable when it does happen. The fact that it takes a lot longer to do things, I know I've mentioned this before, but just your daily routine of like, I don't know, just finding a place to go to the bathroom in the morning or figuring out a way to cook a meal, you have to kind of plan for it, and it takes quite a bit longer than it would if you were just living in a traditional house or something like that. A lot of folks will say that that constantly changing environment of not knowing where you are going to sleep at night can add unnecessary stress, even if it's just subconscious stress, and I believe that that is definitely the case for a lot of people. For me, it's kind of the opposite. Like, I don't like being in the same place every day. That actually kind of adds stress to my life. It reduces my creativity. It kind of ruins inspiration. I'm just not as inspired to get out there and create, and I like to take video and take pictures, obviously, so like it's hard to do that if I'm just stuck in the same routine day after day. It's a lot easier for me if I have a constantly changing environment. I find myself more at peace with the nomadic lifestyle of being on the road, but at the same time I can see how it would add stress to a lot of people's lives, and it's something that's worth considering. Summary, I know this video was a lot of me rambling about van life and so on, so I'm sorry, but I also hope that it was helpful for some of you guys who are maybe considering alternative lifestyles. I definitely think that it was 100% worth it on my end, and it's something that my only regret is maybe not having done it soon enough. I think I should have done it earlier in my life if I could have, and it would have made a lot more sense. I went an entire year of paying rent where I didn't need to pay rent for that year, and I could have been living full-time on the road, and I kind of regret that I didn't do it any sooner. This is something that I see myself doing for a long time moving forward. It may not necessarily be in the element. We might upgrade to a bigger van, especially if Antene joins me on the road, but it's something that I want to do for the extended future, and I'm really excited to see what it has in store. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to y'all in the next video.